Hey, you're listening to what I hope is another episode of the DIY Marketing School podcast. I'm your host and your marketing coach, Melanie Diane Howe. And today we're going to talk about how word of mouth marketing is not dead. It's just different. And it all comes down to the customer experience that you're creating. So let's do this. Well, what's going on, my friends? It is just a wonderful day to talk about word of mouth marketing. So I always use this phrase and I say word of mouth is not dead. I think that when we hear the phrase word of mouth, we go back and we kind of think about the days before social media. So I know that when I work with just about any business, especially a local business, for example, I would start working with them and I would say, where do you find your most valuable leads and how do you get your customers? And everybody almost always says, well, word of mouth is by far how we get our best customers. And, they'll say, we do advertising or we do these things, but, the best customers always come to us from word of mouth. And again, this is kind of that local business, brick and mortar-ish style. I mean, even service-based industry, people who are in the services industry say the same thing. And so when we start talking about using social media, they would always kind of get hesitant or feel like they're going to lose that word of mouth touch, or they always just say like word of mouth is still going to be our best avenue for our best customers. I totally agree. So I don't think word of mouth is dead. Marketing is going into, this digital space. It's just, there's a whole different way you can market yourself and your business now that is a little more electronic. I guess that's probably a good way for me to put that. And, but that doesn't mean word of mouth is dead. It's just different. And so the way word of mouth used to look, it was literally word of mouth. I mean, the phrase is what it is, right? So, but now word of mouth just looks different. And so today, word of mouth looks like online reviews. It looks like people sharing your website, people going to their social media and saying, oh my gosh, I love this product, or oh my gosh, I love this company, or I love this restaurant, and, advocating for you by sharing their own version of why they love your business or your product. And the other ways that word of mouth looks, the way that it looks today, is referrals, so recommendations. So now, for example, when you're on Facebook and you check into a place, Facebook sometimes will prompt you and say, hey, do you want to recommend this place? And you can say, yep. And it's kind of like that's a digital word of mouth. I mean, you are making a recommendation for that business. And then, of course, there's people that just may love your business, or they just, like, for example, this is very common in restaurants and coffee shops and places like that. They take a picture and they like post it and they say, how cute is this place? Or, oh, look where I'm at. Look what I'm doing. Look who I'm with. That is another form of word of mouth marketing. Word of mouth just simply means that it's somebody else on their own terms recommending or spreading the word about your business and your services. Another way that this looks that is maybe just a little less obvious is maybe there's Facebook groups. Facebook communities are just huge right now, and people are asking questions in these groups. So somebody might be saying, hey, I'm really interested in starting a podcast. Does anybody have any great, recommendations for resources for how I can get started? Well, every time I see this in a lot of the groups that I'm in, I immediately know that my friend Crystal Profit is going to get tagged in that question almost every time. She's created a presence for herself. She's got an online course about starting a podcast. She is super helpful. She's got a ton of free content and resources to help people get started. And of course, she has a podcast called The Profit Podcast. And just so you know, Crystal is going to be on the show. We did an interview and she is going to be on the show, and I cannot wait for that episode to come out here in a couple weeks. But anyway, this is a version of word of mouth marketing as well. So Crystal may not even know these people that are specifically tagging her and saying, oh, you've got to check out Crystal Profit. They may just be a fan of hers, a listener who is getting value from her, or they're seeing her showing up in these Facebook communities, always answering questions and always being helpful. She always goes above and beyond. And so one of the reasons why I think that Crystal gets tagged so much in these communities is because she is showing up continuously. And, even when she gets tagged, for example, and someone says, "Oh, you need to check out Crystal Profit," and they may tag her in their comment, she doesn't jump in and say, "Yeah, check out my podcast," or "Yeah, go buy my online course." She doesn't do that. She could, because the person literally is like asking for a way to start a podcast and she has a course to help you start a podcast. No, what she does instead is she basically just answers their questions, gives them as much free advice as possible. And depending on what they're asking for, she, a lot of times will have a free resource, a free checklist, a free guide, a free video or something where it is exactly what they need to answer their question. And she may say, "Hey, check this out." But she's not jumping in and just trying to sell her course. She's being helpful. And when other people see that, it then makes them want to recommend her. So I know I kind of went on a little tangent there explaining that, but that's another way that word of mouth marketing works in today's modern marketing world. And so today what I want to talk about is what I call this when somebody does this. So they use this digital word of mouth. This is you being remarketable. Okay. Yes, remarkable, but remarketable, meaning somebody's going to market for you. And so I want you to be thinking about how can you be remarketable? And a lot of it boils down to you needing to understand that it's not always just going to be customers that recommend you. So for example, I will tell you right now, I have not purchased Crystal's course, but I know not just enough from interacting with Crystal, and asking her questions and her answering my questions, talking with her, meeting her in person, and seeing how she shows up online. I absolutely know that I can recommend her as a resource. Now, I'm not going to specifically advocate for the course specifically because I have not taken it. I wouldn't, recommend a cheeseburger I've never tasted in my life, but I may tell someone to go check it out because I've heard great things. But I know that the right people are going to, work with her, that find her and decide that her course is the right fit for them. But I know that I can trust Crystal because I've seen and I've experienced how she shows up. This makes her remarketable, meaning I want to actually be able to share her as a resource because I love having an answer for somebody. I love helping people, and I can basically market for her by just saying, check this person out. So I want you to be thinking about your business and how you can be remarketable, because word of mouth is going to bring you your best customers. It is. It just is what it is. And it's going to make people go through their customer journey with you even faster. Because if you think about it, if someone discovers you organically, they've never heard of you, they're looking you up online and they find you, they just happen to discover you. If you have great SEO or you've got some ads out there, maybe they've come in. They are what's considered a cold lead. They've never heard of you in their entire life. They know nothing about you. It's going to take them some time because they need to do some research and they need to do some things to go through their own personal journey in your, customer funnel, if you will, to decide if you might be a good fit for them. And I talk about this on an earlier episode, and I'll link to it in the show notes, where I talk about why we're on social media, and it's to get people to learn to decide whether they like us, they can get to know us, and then they can trust us. And when they trust us, that's when they actually become a customer. But this process, the reason I'm explaining is because this is the journey people go through. When someone discovers you and they're a cold lead, they still have to do their work. They still have some work to do their research and to decide, do I even want to explore this person? But if someone that they already know and trust recommends you, that process for them is faster. There's a couple of reasons for this. One, because, obviously we like to try. If our friend says, hey, this is a great resource, a great business, we're more likely to check it out because it's our friend. We trust our friends. And also we relate to our friends. There's a reason why we're friends with these people. There's a reason why we're connected to these people, because we have similar interests, we have similar goals, we have similar values and passions. And so when they recommend something, it's almost like the process of this new lead. They are actually a warmer lead because you were recommended. So this goes back to that phrase that the word of mouth people, the people who hear about you through word of mouth are actually, they a lot of times become your best customers. And a lot of it has to do with that connection. And so I want to talk about some ways that we need to make sure that we are creating an experience for people so that we can be remarketable. And I already talked a lot about one of the ways, which is just showing up, being like using Crystal Profit as a perfect example, just showing up and being helpful. Another person that comes to mind when I think about this is my friend Bobby Klink. You know, he is fantastic. He shows up in these groups and he just gives away tons of legal knowledge, and it, skyrocketed his business. And he talks about this all the time. He basically says, I just started giving. I just started helping people and showing up. And he wasn't even trying to get business. He wasn't selling. It just happened naturally because all these people then became to trust Bobby and want to do business with him. And then now, very similarly to Crystal, if you have a particular question, Bobby Klink comes to mind. People just tag him like crazy inside of these communities. And it's because they showed up. And so one of the first ways is for you to go above and beyond and be helpful. So, it's not all about selling our products or trying to get that dollar in the bank. Just show up and be helpful to people. And you're going to benefit from this as well in your business, because you're going to learn by paying attention to these these questions that you can answer. You're actually learning insights into how you can continuously refine your products, your services, your online courses, whatever it is that you are in the business of doing, your speeches, whatever. You're going to learn that much more in those discussions, in those comments that are going to actually benefit you to enrich your business and to create this amazing, transformation, whatever the business is that you're in. And so the first way that I think we become remarketable is to just make sure that we're showing up for people, and regardless of whether it's on our own page or somebody else's. And so how you do this is you make sure that you're a part of communities where, your ideal customers are residing. And so, this can be a little bit tricky sometimes. It's, I think, a lot more obvious for some people to be a part of a community where their customers are hanging out. And then in other industries or other people struggle a little bit more with it because it's hard to find those communities. But I want to encourage you to be a part of these Facebook groups and be in these communities and just find a way to show up. And this could be online and it could be in person. If you go to a networking event and you're sitting at a table, then how can you, add value to the conversation at the table? Just continuously be adding value without expecting anything or any business or any money in return. So that's one of the ways that I think we become remarketable. The other thing I want to say is we have to create a customer experience for our actual customers that is worth talking about. And so, one of the ways that I always tell people to visualize this is, I always ask people, how are you, what's your customer experience like? What are your values in your customer experience? Like, how do you and your team or your staff, what do you do to ensure that you're creating the best customer experience that, again, like I said, is worth talking about? Because just delivering a service or, delivering on a promise or providing a product is one thing. But the customer experience goes so much further in some examples of what I mean by this. So I think I've talked about this company on the podcast before. There's an online floral business, and it's Farm Girl Flowers. Sorry, I sort of butchered that. Farm Girl Flowers. I was blessed to have somebody send me a bouquet from Farm Girl Flowers, which was just absolutely wonderful and beautiful, right? And I've gotten flowers many, many times in my life. But this particular bouquet of flowers stood out by far, like so much more massively than any other bouquet of flowers I've ever received. And here's why. It wasn't just a bouquet of flowers delivered to my door. It was a bouquet of flowers. It was wrapped in a, burlap. And then it came with these, like a couple of cards. And it also came with this little pin. Like, it wasn't just a bouquet of flowers. That, first of all, I open it up and there's this letter that talks about Farm Girl Flowers and the whole, their value system and where they get their flowers and the burlap and how the burlap is actually recycled burlap. And it's, they want you to recycle it and you make it, repurpose it basically, and how they're just all about sustainability. There's so much more meaning there's a story here about, I was able to open these flowers and connect with the flowers a little bit more because of what they provided. They educated me on what goes into creating these bouquets and why it's created the way it is and all these other things. And then there's this this little pin that says grit. And then there's a card that goes with it that describes what grit is. And it's literally like a little letter from the woman who's the founder of Farm Girl Flowers. And she talks about being an entrepreneur and how it takes grit and all these things. And I'm like, this is amazing. And I can so relate to this. And then, it was just like, wow, just this. I mean, it was not just a bouquet of flowers. There was so much more that went to it. And guess what I did? I freaking went straight to Instagram and I started posting about this amazing experience that I had receiving these flowers. And so there I immediately shared it, word of mouth, right? And then the other thing I did was I turned right around and one of my friends, she had a birthday I was like 2 weeks later, I think. And I was like, I'm going to send her a bouquet from Farm Girl Flowers too. And so I actually ended up sending her this like gift box of all these different goodies for her birthday. And the same experience for her. She loved it so much. She literally took a video. She's like, look at all these cool things. Melanie, thank you so much. And she also got a pin in hers. And it was a different pin with a little note. I mean, just it's so much further than just getting a bouquet of flowers or a gift box. There's all this meaning behind it. There's the storytelling aspect. And so what they've done is they've created a different customer experience. And I think when you're in the online world, this is really important. And you just have to differentiate yourself. You have competitors out there. So put a little of yourself in there and put a little of your customer in there too, and create something that they're going to want to talk about. Another example I'm going to give you is, so there's a lot of, like I'm going to talk about product-based businesses, I guess, right now. So there's a lot of like people who create jewelry, right? So I'm just going to use the jewelry example. And it's very similar to the Farm Girl Flowers. So you can buy someone a gift from one of these online, jewelers, these, kind of craft handmade jewelers, and send it to somebody. Especially there's really trend right now about, jewelry that's got messaging on it or custom stuff, that's custom to you or whatever. And, you can send it and I can receive it as a gift, or even I can order it myself and buy it online, and there it is, right? Here's the deal. You can literally research or Google this type of jewelry, and there's so many choices. There's so many places to choose to buy this from. But there's a way to go about it, and then there's a way to just be simple. Like I said, it could be like the flowers. The flowers show up, nothing with it, right? The jewelry shows up, nothing with it. Not a lot to talk about there, right? I mean, yeah, you like your jewelry and it's pretty, but there's just not a lot to talk about. The customer experience is a bit flat. So I will tell you that I had a similar situation. I had someone send me a necklace. It was a gift. And I get it and I open it up and it's in this box and there's a card with it, and the necklace has a name. It's a design, of course. It's it's just a repeatable design that they have, you can buy them. They have stock, right? But the design had a name instead of it just being some necklace. The name of the design was called Out of the Box. And the company that I received this from, the jewelry is Brian Anthony's Jewelry. And it was called Out of the Box. And it was this necklace, and it was just this like square or rectangle shaped, gold, and had a little, stone in the corner. And that stone was kind of outside the inner box, right? And it came with this card. And this card just described, it said, you're an out of the box person, and here's why that's great, and here's why I think this about you, and here's what it means to be, outside of the box. And it was beautifully written. And I immediately, I really liked the necklace. It was cute. It was, something I would definitely wear. It was nice. But I connected so much more, not only with the piece of jewelry, but with the person who sent it to me, because of the card that was included, the name of the jewelry and the card that was included that kind of went into this description. Now, I know one thing about these people that make jewelry. They're artists and they have a heart, and they're always inspired by something. There's something that inspires their art. And I think if you're in any kind of product-based business and you're making something, there's a reason, there's something behind it that's personal to you, right? So if you can take the time to do this effort to create messaging that goes around the product that you're sending, and just, again, you're going to let somebody relate to it. Because if it weren't for those notes that I got from both Farm Girl Flowers and Brian Anthony's jewelry, I wouldn't have connected with the piece that I was getting, the gift I was getting, and the company. And they became memorable. And this became an experience worth talking about. But also, I immediately became an advocate for the business. So I immediately became a word of mouth person, because not only am I now shopping on both of these sites and providing gifts to other people because I want them to experience that same experience, but I also talk about these companies. And like I said, you can get flowers in a million places. You can get flowers locally. You can get flowers but if you want to ship somebody flowers somewhere else, wouldn't you want to pick a place that's going to create a customer experience that's memorable for the person you're providing that to? And then the same with the jewelry. Wouldn't you want, you pick a piece of jewelry out for somebody? One, it also creates a different online shopping experience, because I'm like, oh yeah, this reminds me of my friend. My friend is an out of the box thinker, right? And then you immediately connect to your friend that you're sending this to. And it creates a customer experience for both the purchaser, but also the receiver. And so, those are two examples I wanted to give you, because they're just, they mean a lot, and I think they bring this point home. But let's keep moving, because I could probably talk about this stuff all day long. But the other thing I want to say is that, let's say that somebody does advocate for you online. The way that you continue to nurture this type of activity, this word of mouth activity, is to recognize people who are doing it. So when let's say somebody shares about you or comments, about your business or your services, and you just left it, you ignored it. That's not really being remarkable, right? But let's say somebody comments about an experience they had, at your business, and you see it. You go in there and you go out of your way. You make sure you recognize that person. You respond and you say thank you or whatever, and we aren't going to see every single thing that somebody posts about our business online. It's just not realistic. But when we do have access to it, you've got to make sure that you take the time. It's important for you to recognize those people. So I actually just saw this recently on LinkedIn. I saw a young woman talking about an experience she had at a restaurant. And, she was basically saying that, she had ordered something and she didn't really love she didn't love how it came out. There was anything wrong with it. She just didn't love the flavor of it. And they were happy to take it, away and get her something else. And she loved it. And they also took it off the bill. And she just was like, they didn't have to do that. And she posted about this, and the owner of the restaurant, and it's a chain, right, happened to see this. Maybe somebody on his team pointed it out to him, but he took the time to personally respond to her. And I saw that in my feed, which made me have more respect for that restaurant. Like, wow, look at this. Here he is going out of his way. He doesn't even work inside the restaurant. He's, making lots of money and doing all kinds of things, but he took the time to respond to this young college student who was advocating for one of his, restaurants. And that went a long way. So I saw that immediately made me connect more. It made him more memorable. It made his restaurant more memorable to me. And so when you recognize people, you're creating an experience for them. It makes them feel good about going out of their way to spread a little word of mouth for you. But then again, they now connected with you even further because you responded. You actually acknowledged that that you appreciated what they were doing for you. And again, that makes you even more memorable and remarkable. And not only for them, but also for the people connected to them that see you respond to how they shared about your business. And so it's really important that we recognize those people. And then there are times when you might have some very special, customers, like just they're deep down in the advocate, the deep point of your customer funnel. And they are always recommending people, always referring people to you, always, just sharing about your business. For them, I'd say go a little above and beyond even further. Send them a handwritten note, send them a personalized video, send them a gift certificate, give them some free services to just recognize and thank them for what they've done to help, spread the word about your business and your services. And again, you're going to create a deeper connection, a deeper relationship with that person, and you're going to want to make them refer you even more because you're acknowledging what they're doing. So always make sure you acknowledge the people who are spreading your business via word of mouth, for sure. So another area that I think that it's important that you ensure you're providing an amazing customer experience is in how you support your customers. And this looks different based on the type of business that you operate. If you're in the online space, then you're going to be doing a lot of, you may, be getting some email questions, or you may, if you're in a product-based business, you may have people that have questions about your product before they buy, or maybe they have issues after they buy. You always want to go above and beyond. And I think that what I would say is this. There's going to be people, they feel an emotion when they reach out to get support from you. And I think it's common for a few things for people to feel. One, they may feel embarrassed because they have questions, and maybe they're not very confident that maybe they feel like they shouldn't have those questions, but they're going out of their way. They're reaching out and they're asking the questions. They're trying to get support from you. So in how you respond to those questions, always leading with compassion and just making them feel comfortable and safe is going to create an amazing customer experience. And then, of course, obviously, you want to make sure you respond. You want to respond in a timely manner, right? But I also think that depending on the type of questions you're getting, you can type an email response back, or let's say they're in your support community and they have questions and you're responding to them and helping them work through, a challenging solution or a challenging problem or whatever. Yes, you can type a response, but man, I got a little thing for you. You want to go above and beyond. Record a little video for them. And I talked about this in my last episode. So if you haven't listened to episode 26, make sure you check it out, because I actually talk about adding a personal touch in your marketing. But one of the ways that I love to support my people is by recording an answer to their question on a video. And it feels personal to them, but it's definitely an example of going above and beyond. And I've seen other people do this, and I absolutely it always wows me, and it always creates a positive experience on the other side. And so this for me is one of the values in how I operate my business, is to just try to go above and beyond in how I support my students and my customers, and even just the people that aren't even customers or students that are just in my groups or following me and posting about, questions in for example, my Facebook group, my DIY Marketing with Melanie Facebook group. I love to do that. I actually enjoy it, but I also know that they get a lot more out of it. And that makes me feel good that I'm doing the right thing to create that wonderful customer experience and how I support them. And so, just making sure that you have a structure in place, that you're always compassionate, you're always positive. And, the other thing I'll say is this. Sometimes people feel like when they reach out to support, if they have a problem, so maybe a complaint, which happens. I mean, none of us are perfect in business. There's going to be either misunderstandings or there's going to be quality, things that happen when someone reaches out and they have an issue, a quality issue, or just, something's not right. Make sure that you use the same approach, that you are gracious that they reached out to you, even if they are a little bit crappy in how they, communicate with you. Because a lot of people, I think, feel like they are inconveniencing you, or they feel bad about it sometimes. Of course, we have those people that are just like, you're like, oh my God, it's like all they do is sit around and write negative reviews for people all day long, right? We're not talking about them. We're talking about the people that you truly want to make sure you take care of. I know that there's been times when, like, I'm at a restaurant and my steak, even if it's a restaurant that I go to all the time, and my steak comes out, a little bit overcooked, I always feel like bad. Like, I just always feel icky about being like, oh, I wanted it medium rare, but it's a little bit done. And then I have to remind myself, what if I were the owner of that restaurant? Would I want my customer to walk away and not say anything to me? No. So, one of the ways that I love, there's a local restaurant I love, and we sometimes have an issue, and it's no big deal because I always know it's okay. And I'm like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, so sorry. Let's take care of it. They never make me feel like I'm inconveniencing them. I have so been to restaurants before where there's like just blatant crap wrong with your meal. And when you say something about it, they actually are just rude. Like they're just like, ugh, and they're rude about it. And then they don't like take it off the bill or anything. That's not an exceptional customer experience in regards to support and dealing with issues. And so, I just want you to be thinking about, what would you want the other person to do on the other side? Would you want them to just be quiet and not ask questions or not report the problems to you? Or would you want them to let you know so that you can make it right? So be gracious when those issues are brought to you. Yes, it can be stressful, but be gracious and make sure you let them know how gracious you are so that they don't feel this weird guilt, because it's common. There are a lot of people that when they reach out, they feel kind of bad about it. And it just gives them so much reassurance when you respond with gratitude and take care of it and make it up to them, and even going above and beyond because they reported the issue to you. So that's another way, making sure that you're supporting not only just questions and general support questions, but also how you're managing problems and quality issues and issues. So these are just, really just a handful of the ways that we create, an exceptional customer experience, and we make ourselves memorable and remarkable so that people are advocating and talking about our business, meaning, that word of mouth, that modern day word of mouth style of getting people into, our funnel, our new leads for us, new customers, right? And, what I want you to think about is these are not the only ways. You are in your own industry, your own business, and you can probably come up with a dozen more ways that you can ensure that you're creating an exceptional customer experience so that you are memorable, people connect to you, and they want to spread, the word of mouth about you and your business. They want to recommend you. You are remarketable. And sometimes, it can be a little bit challenging to step out of your day-to-day operations and how you're doing things and really focus on ensuring that you are focused on this. And one of the best ways that I always tell people that they can come up with ideas and making sure, or ideas or changes. I want you to audit how you're doing these things today. I want you to audit, how are you delighting people? Are you talking with people? Are you responding to comments? Are you taking care of people that are recommending you in your business? Do a little self-audit. Be really honest with yourself. But the other thing I want you to do is start to pay attention to your own customer experiences. I talked about a couple of experiences that I've had, and I shared those. Those were a big deal to me. You bet your butt that if I were a product-based business, that I'd be sending a card or something that explains the story behind my product, right? As much detail as possible so that somebody can have a personal connection with that experience, but also with me and my product-based business, right? I don't own a product-based business right now, but if I ever do, you bet your butt, I'm going to take what I've experienced and I'm going to put it into my own business. And that is one of the best ways that you can come up with, processes or marketing efforts or content efforts, anything, support, SOPs, standard operating procedures that ensure you're creating this customer experience, is by to think about your own customer experiences, both what customer experiences have, really delighted you, and then also what customer experiences didn't delight you. So really learning from your own experience is one of the best ways you can flip that around and apply that to your business and how you are taking care of people. So, I always say, hey, who doesn't love to get a handwritten note? Everybody loves to get a handwritten note, but are you writing handwritten notes for people? It's that simple. So think about what you enjoy and then just flip it around and put it in place in your own, operations and processes. So that's the last thing I want to leave you with is start to really pay attention to this and maybe, create, open up a note somewhere and just start writing this stuff down and keeping it in mind when you're, experiencing these things. And then, just find a way to put it into your own business. It's that simple. So this, I know, is not necessarily super, super tactical, but I just think the customer experience is so important. And I do feel like it's one of the most important things for us to focus on, but it can also become one of the quickest things for us to lose focus on because we get busy working in our business and not on our business. And so I wanted to talk to you guys about it today. And I want you to be thinking about the customer experiences that you are going through, but also how can you create those customer experiences? Because in the end, word of mouth is still the best, most enriched form of marketing, because word of mouth does bring us our best customers and our best leads. And so these are some ways that I want you to start to create and foster the ability for that word of mouth marketing to work for you too. So that's what I got for you guys today. I hope you have an awesome day. And as you know, I always say, go be awesome when I finish these podcasts, because I just want you to kind of listen to the podcast. I want you to believe in yourself. And then I want you to do something today so that you can go to sleep at night and say, you know what? I was awesome today. So my friends, go be awesome.